in cooperation with the City of Eau Claire. This program is simulcast on WRFP-LP 101.9 FM.
Okay, we've been having some technical difficulties here with City Hall, so could people please let me know if they can hear me first off?
I can hear you.
Okay, thanks, Wayne.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Connie can hear you too.
Okay, Catherine, excellent. Okay, good. So everybody, it sounds like everybody can probably hear me then, most people can. Okay, so I'd like to call the meeting to order.
You'll need to turn your mic on.
Sure. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's 7:35, let's say, by the clock on the wall. I think we can dispense with the roll call because we can see who's here. Does that sound good?
You probably just want to confirm for the minutes who all is present.
Okay, so I'm seeing in the meeting Catherine, Connie, Dale, Jenny, Sarah, Wayne, a couple calls.
Yeah, and Tom, I will say that in the attendees area, there are some staff members as well. Steve Nick is in there, and Scott Allen, and Jason, and Scott Rogers from the Chamber, and a couple of college users.
I'm still reading them off. I haven't got that far on
Okay.
the list.
Okay. I just wanted to let you know that if Jason and Steve or Scott need to talk, you'll have to unmute them, just so you know.
Yeah, I see them there. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about
Okay, so we have everybody then. First order of business, I'd like to recognize Mary Prosnick, who served on this board for the last, couple of years, I believe, at this point, and has stepped down to take a different position. I believe we have a resolution on that.
With the Planning Commission, it is.
Okay, very good. So let's see if we can do this. Plaque. Very nice. And so I'll just read through it. Resolution, whereas Mary Prosnick has served the citizens of the City of Eau Claire as a member of the Redevelopment Authority since 2019, and whereas she has been a strong advocate of downtown redevelopment, riverfront beautification, quality construction, and economic development, and whereas her depth of professional experience and knowledge of development has been a keystone of the Redevelopment Authority, and whereas her thoughtful and detailed review of redevelopment proposals has encouraged higher quality development for the community, now therefore be it resolved that the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Eau Claire hereby shows its appreciation, as well as the appreciation of the city staff and the citizens of the city, to Mary Prosnick for her contributions, leadership, and service to the City of Eau Claire. Dated today. Very nice. Mary is not. I don't see.
No,
yeah, she's not here. She wasn't able to be here today, but we'll make sure to get this to her. We don't vote on that or anything.
No.
Yeah, no. So Mary will pick that up shortly. Okay, the next order of business is the improvement of the minutes from 5/20, so May 20th, 2020, this year. Seems like a long time ago. The minutes were distributed to, I believe, everybody. I'd like to get a motion on the minutes if I could. Motion to approve.
So moved. This is Wayne.
This is Dale, second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, call a vote. Approval. Please say aye to approve the minutes.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, ayes have it. Minutes have been approved. Thanks, everybody. Next item is the financial statements. Financial statements were also distributed in your materials for the meeting.
And Tom, you'll want to go in and unmute Jason.
Okay. All right, Jason, you've been unmuted. Jason, are you there? Jason? He's unmuted.
Go ahead and, maybe go ahead and make him a panelist. See if that helps. Is he still?
No, he's over here. Unmuted.
I'll just cover that.
Okay, okay, so Aaron, you're going to do that?
Yeah, I'll cover his report briefly.
Jason, I can see Jason, but I can't hear Jason. Yeah, can't hear you at all, Jason.
I'll go ahead and cover his statement. According to the memorandum that Jason had sent out, the RDA budget and actual reports of July 31st, 2020 are attached. As of July 31st, operating expenditures totaled $6,339. Of that total, $4,500 was spent on Block 7 for marketing. That is part of the massing study that AIRS is doing for us on that site. And $1,839 went towards stormwater charges at 2000 Oxford Avenue. Any questions related to the budget or related to the financials?
Okay, questions? Fairly straightforward, I think. Okay, I'd look for a motion to approve the financials.
Manuel, so moved.
Okay. Catherine, is that you?
Second from Wayne.
Okay, seconded by Wayne. All right, all in favor of approving the financials?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, wonderful, ayes have it. All right, next item, item 6, business agenda items. First sub-item, update on Block 7. Aaron?
Thank you, Tom. And unfortunately, we don't have, we had a problem sharing the support PC to show any visuals, so this will just be an oral report. We won't have anything else to be able to share the screen for those who are attending digitally. As far as Block 7 goes, AIRS is finishing up their massing study of that site that we'd asked them to look at. We saw a first draft of that and presented to the development team last week. There's a couple of minor tweaks we asked them to make, and they will be ready to present their formal proposal or recommendations, I guess I should say, in the September meeting for the RDA. They have shown 4 different versions of how buildings and parking can be massed into that site. 4 different configurations, each having different densities and different pluses or minuses in terms of development size and scope. But the information they're putting out is very promising. Surprisingly, there are several options to still develop a decent amount of density of development within that site and make it a feasible project related to above ground parking. So we'll have some additional information for you available in the next month meeting in terms of Block 7, but that process is moving forward nicely. Any questions in regards to Block 7?
Okay, I don't see any here on the chat or hear any. So why don't we move on to the second item, the liner site.
Thank you. The liner site, we really wanted to give a quick update related to the Children's Museum. The Children's Museum has approved and signed the development agreement that was worked out between our department and theirs. Unfortunately, we didn't get it back in time to put it formally on the agenda, so it will be on the September agenda for formal motion to approve, but we did want to hit a few of the highlight components. Just as a reminder, the Children's Museum, they are looking to take about 2/3 of the liner site, so roughly 20,000 square feet of that site. The building they're proposing is roughly 23,000 square feet, multi-storied. They have committed to a $10 square foot purchase price with some land credits available to offset any additional soil amenities or soil remediation that might be needed within that location. We have a construction timeline. They're expected to start in 2020, and the project is moving forward nicely. They have a design approved, and they have been doing some initial fundraising, so their capital campaign has started off nicely. Kind of open it for any questions, and City Attorney Steve Nick is also available to answer any additional points related to the development agreement that'll be coming up next month. So I'd invite any questions related to the Children's Museum project.
Also looks like Michael McCorney, the director of the Children's Museum, is on the call too. If you guys have questions for him, he'll just be unmuted.
Yeah, so any questions? Yes. So just so everybody knows, I can see all the attendees right here in front of me, here on this end. So we have, yeah, several other people besides the people everybody's been mentioned. So any questions on the Children's Museum project? Okay, I have one question. It's not really much a question as clarification. So the Children's Museum, my understanding is that they were out in the media some time ago, that they're closed indefinitely for obvious reasons. How is that decision impacting this process? And I ask that question mostly for clarification to the community who may be concerned about what the future of this important, of the Children's Museum is.
I would answer from our standpoint, there hasn't been an impact. They are still moving forward with the project. The closing of the current facility is an operations question, which I think Mike would be able to answer more fully on that end of things, but it hasn't stopped this process. Their board is still committed to moving forward on the new facility, intending to open it up, more fully once hopefully things have settled down and we've moved past some of the issues related to COVID. But I would invite Michael McCorney to maybe answer any additional questions related to the current closing of the current facility.
Yeah, Michael, I'm going to unmute you, and if you're willing, I would really love to hear what you guys, exciting things you guys got going on.
Yes, more than happy to answer that. Can you all hear me okay?
I absolutely can.
All right, great. Sorry, you might hear a little one in the background. I'm kind of on the way to an appointment. But so as far as us and our situation, unfortunately, we've had to use the word indefinitely, and we realize that may cause some confusion, but it's for consistency purposes because if we don't know our exact reopening date, that has been our policy, if you will, is we are just using the word indefinitely. We certainly plan to reopen at some point, whether that is in our current building or in the new building. I would say kind of remains to be seen, and it's really dependent on what happens with the virus. Children's museums across the country have remained shuttered, with kind of I guess the simplest way to describe it is social distancing and social play are not synonymous. So we, though, Claire, we felt we had to make an effort to try and reopen, and to do so at about 50% of our capacity for what we had done the previous year. Unfortunately, in the month of July, we were at 15%. And as we started to project out our cash flow, with the losses that we were seeing daily, which were $1,272 on average, we quickly realized that cash on hand was going to be depleted by January 12th of 2021. So we made it really was a strategic move. Our sense from our industry, we attend weekly calls, both with children's museums across the country and also in our state. And the sense is that the impact on our industry is going to be through 2021. And hopefully we could maybe operate in 2021, but it'll certainly be at a reduced capacity. I would say the maximum would probably be 50% is what we would plan and project for that year. That being said, our board is kind of working through the metrics that we're going to put into place for reopening. One will be to have at least 6 months or as close to 6 months cash on hand. We currently do. The challenge with our cash on hand is 60% of that is from an SBA EIDL loan, and The other 40% we withdrew from our endowment. So what we're trying to avoid doing is touching our line of credit as well from an operating standpoint. So we are in a position cash-wise, but it's just not a good time to operate, unfortunately. It really was a matter of people just aren't coming out to experience things. And I think even I've talked to some folks that have operations that like a pool that is outdoors, and they haven't even met their capacity, I think maybe once or twice this summer. So I think it's just a sign that families just maybe aren't, as a whole, ready to come out and experience, those sorts of amenities or opportunities. So as far as the metric 6 months cash on hand, the other piece that we want to be able to use is to use as much for data information, the best that we can do to see that we could maybe return to 100% operations within a year's time. It's kind of a tougher thing to do, but we think we can certainly, one thing that might tell us that could happen is if a vaccine does come out, we would probably say, okay, maybe within a year we could get closer to that 100% where we're doing all of the things we were doing prior to. I don't know that financially we'll ever be back at that level right away, but we certainly think we can offer, birthday parties, field trips, those sorts of things that we aren't able to do now or weren't able to do when we reopened. And then the final piece is we want to hopefully have our corporate sponsorships be at 80% of the level they were in the most recent fiscal year. So those are probably the three guiding factors as to when we'll reopen. It's possible it could be in January, but we simply just don't have a date at this point for that. So the other thing that I'll share is the operations and the impact on our capital campaign. So it took us 7 months to raise our first $1 million and 2 months to raise our second $1 million. We're currently at $2.2 million raised. And because of what happened with the pandemic, we really had to pause, not totally pause, but put the brakes on a little bit because we had to really focus our attention onto our operations. We still were, meeting with folks and certainly promoting what the new project was going to be, and really understanding people's abilities and when they might have the capacity to make a gift. Unfortunately, we had to focus so much on trying to reopen. It just took a lot away from the capital campaign. Our two largest gifts came in after the pandemic, both in the $500,000 range. So we certainly still have confidence in people's capability to support the campaign. Certainly it's going to be a little bit different. Some businesses are doing okay right now and some are doing well, some are not. So we want to be very careful about how that, how we approach that moving forward. But with us now kind of being able to take a little bit of a breath from trying to operate and all of.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, for that. I really.
You might want to go ahead and mute him again.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that helps give a little bit of an update. Sorry if I was a little long-winded.
No. Thanks, Michael, and that's really wonderful to hear. It's you guys are really an institution here downtown and a positive force in the community. So, that you're able to continue with this and keep moving forward is, it's the best news I've heard in a while. So that's good. Thank you very much for that update. Steve, I think you had a question, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you there.
Good morning. Just a quick run through. Aaron did a good job, but I wanted to add a few other things from the development and purchase agreement. But before I do that, thanks to Mike McCorney, and certainly wish him well, both as executive director and in his personal life. I think you've got a busy family day or week, Mike, so thanks for taking a little time this morning, and congratulations. On the DA, the closing is projected for this year. Maybe I misheard it, or Aaron might have misspoke, but it wouldn't be construction commencement in 2020, but closings stated as end of the year. But the parties are able to extend in writing, so just so the RDA membership knows that as a staff, if we're moving closer to closing, and whether for fairly typical surveying issues, title work issues, financing issues, the parties need a couple extra months. We're going to be able to administratively handle that. And to put it in perspective, there was a closing contractually set for September on the railroad lot. That's projected now to hopefully happen on or before the end of November. So you've got a project across the street that is a city property, so city council approved, but in your district, that also is slated to close later this fall. So closing hopefully by year end or soon after. Commencement of construction per the development agreement expected to occur in 2021, with completion contractually set as no later than the end of 2022. Purchase price and size of lot was handled, recall, and it is referenced in this development agreement that you have another interested developer on the rest of that liner site. Approximately a third of the site is Monarch, and they are still working on finalizing that and bringing that project forward to you, but there's still Monarch Ventures is still an active participant and a party that CMEC would want to coordinate with, as they're a partner on that liner site. But they're separate projects, and they would build separate buildings that again would contemplate a coordinated, especially central entrance and loading facility, but can commence at different times and could be independent entirely if need be, although we hope they both will go forward and occur in the coming year or two. The only addition I would add to the closing credits, it's accurate, as Aaron indicated, that two of the three reasons for that up to $105,000 credit are environmental related, either due diligence or for soil remediation. The third would be for attachments or any penetrations into the parking structure itself. And those are interchangeable, so anticipate those likely being utilized, meaning that you've got an approximate sale price of $200,000 and credits going back of probably about half of that, of up to $105,000. And I think the final thing to mention is, this is anticipated to be a tax exempt development in a redevelopment district and in a TIF district, which is somewhat unusual, not impermissible, and in this instance anticipated. Your tax status section, which is section 6 of the development agreement, then takes a similar unique approach to this, contemplating that when the Children's Museum is able to construct and move on to their new property, lot 1 in the liner, and sell their existing facility on Barstow Street, there would be a minimum value guarantee that would then kind of come online. So it's a contingent minimum value guarantee of at least $500,000 on the existing Children's Museum. But again, not starting on day one, but starting when the Children's Museum completes and takes occupancy of their new facility in the North Barstow, and then on the earlier of January 1, 2024, or the next January 1st following developer completion of their new project. there certainly are additional terms. Some, parking is always a, salient term that's handled on page 5. Since that's a city facility and not an RDA facility, it's handled as a contingency. But there is an expectation there that the city will make available 25 stalls in the North Barstow ramp to the museum, and we're working with city engineering that handles our parking structures to identify approximately half of those as family-friendly parking spots that are either close to the museum entrance or close to the elevator in that parking structure for ease of access for families, whether they're using the Children's Museum or any of our amenities in the North Barstow, namely, Farmers Market or Phoenix Park in general. With that, if you have any other questions on the development agreement, happy to try to answer them for you.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate the update. Any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Steve.
Great, thank you.
Well,
and again, we're introducing it today. We expect it'll be on your September agenda for formal approval.
Okay. And Steve, just a quick, your tone suggests there's no concern about the financials with respect to the aggregate TIF with this. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, Tom, most of that I missed. I couldn't hear you.
No problem, no problem. Your tone in your presentation suggests that you don't believe there's any problem with the financials with respect to the aggregate of the TIF. Is that a correct reading?
It was still somewhat hard, but I think your question was concern about the aggregate impact on the TIF.
Yeah, in other words, that the financial exemption, the tax exemption here will not, and the consequential impact on the aggregate aggregate. Yeah, you got it. Thanks.
Now I think I got it. Well, it sure doesn't help. Generally, we want to see positive increment. That's the only way TIFs work, right. And it's important to talk to this developer and every developer about that, because in essence, it's the financing vehicle that cities can use. So no different from any other investor, really, the public is making investment, has made, tens of millions of dollars of investment to bring this site to a pad-ready, attractive, safe, healthy, development site. And, there needs to be a return on that to the public, and it's through taxes and new increment, new value that is taxable in the district. So without question, this development won't add to that directly. So the decision point for the RDA is how does it add to the district in other ways? It's an attractive new building. It will hopefully bring foot traffic to this part of the downtown, just as it has very successfully for over 10 years to what otherwise was an empty site, at its current location. And, that makes a difference, just as much as our public investments, say, in Phoenix Park and, the farmers market and, trail amenities and things like that. But while the public isn't directly funding it, it probably should be viewed somewhat as that sort of public amenity attractant to the district, as opposed to a bottom line financial one. So the project across the street has a $1.5 million plus positive financial impact on the TIF district, that being the railroad lot developed by Merge. The Children's Museum will not have that type of financial impact, but I think ultimately a policy call for you all, but staff certainly strongly recommends it, thinking that it will work in great concert with the railroad lot, with hopefully the Monarch Ventures property next to it and our other existing development, in addition to being another piece in making Block 7 more attractive. So what you really have is the final pieces to try to make that TIF financially be as successful as it has been sort of sociologically is Block 7 and the Monarch property. Monarch, mostly a known commodity, which will definitely help, but the one that you need to be substantial and as soon as possible is Block 7.
Yeah, this is Aaron. I'd also add, as Mr. Nick had mentioned, Monarch will have a guaranteed value assessed on its property to contribute to the TID. And taking into account what the railroad lot will be doing, contributing, and what Monarch is expected to contribute, we do know what the break-even valuation in terms of the TID is for the Block 7 development, and we're keeping that in mind as we look to move that development forward.
Very good. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Steve, for that report. Awesome work. Okay, any other questions on the liner site project? Okay, I'm not seeing any. But so just so people also know, there's a raise hand function too in this. If you didn't know, probably everybody knew that. But if you didn't know that, there's a raise hand function, and I can see those too. And so if you do have a question at any time, hit that raise hand function, and I'll see it. All right. So the next item up is the update on the Cannery District. Aaron, I think that's...
Yes, thank you. Just want to give, again, a brief update on the Canterbury District and where we're at with that area. Recently passed within Plan Commission and City Council is a modification to the site plan for Tyler Warner's project. We originally presented and approved this as the Canterbury Trails residence. It is now named The Current. What they did was they modified the Phase 2 development, which was the LIHTC awarded development. Those are the low-income housing tax credit units that will be going up in Phase 2. They are adding a partial fourth story onto that site. Reason being is that when they started doing the practical engineering for the facility, they originally presented at 3 stories. They found they did not have enough footprint on the ground to do what they were looking to do. They couldn't acquire more space and around that site, so they decided to go vertical. It will add 2 more units compared to what was originally discussed with this organization when we approved that sale. It looks really nice from an aesthetic standpoint. I think it actually adds to the attractiveness and the aesthetics of the project. So really pleased to see that continuing to move forward. As you notice, the construction is still underway. We've been talking with the developer and his contractors, and they're anticipating some initial move-ins in September and then complete move-in the following month. So project of Phase 1 is definitely coming to completion on that. We're still seeing a lot of interest in the remaining sites. We just had another developer inquire about the Riverside sites. That would be the space along the trail directly north of the brewing project. So we're waiting some information on that potential proposal, but definitely catching a lot of attention from the Canterbury District, and we're excited to see that some of these prospects are still moving forward. Any question with what's going on within the Canterbury District?
Okay, any questions for Aaron or anybody else on the last item there? Again, I'm not seeing any hands up or, oh, hang on, we got a call-in user 2 is speaking, but I'm not hearing you. Okay, they're gone now. Not sure who. Okay, now they're back. Who's call-in user 2?
I don't know. We don't have any identification on that.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm sorry. Nobody seems to know who call-in user 2 is. There's no name attached, but they're speaking. I'm wondering if it isn't me.
Yeah, I think it's kind of been there the whole time, Dr. Kemp. I think it might be somebody in the room or something, but it's kind of been showing a lot, but nobody said anything anytime it's been up.
Yeah, so. Thank you. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Is some kind of feedback here. So I'm on here twice, so I can get double the voice, I guess. All right. That's great to hear that we're continuing to get interest in investment in there. It sounds like maybe some even concrete investment in there. That's great. Thanks for the update, Aaron, on that. All right, item 7 then is the executive director's report. Aaron?
Yes, just want to kind of do an overall statement. The inquiries have slowed down some. Most of the projects that we're now looking at and are showing interest in the different spaces and the different types of projects are probably really looking at 2021 type of investment. The current pandemic and the conditions of the economy have a lot of these projects slowing down. A lot of businesses are looking to push things off fourth quarter this year, first quarter next year, but it hasn't stopped a lot of these projects from moving forward. And since the last time that we've met, we've had 3 new regional and statewide major developers approach the community looking for space, looking for project areas, Canterbury District being of primary interest to those. And the community is still continuing to see a lot of interest from bigger development groups. They've heard that Eau Claire is a happening place, that there's a lot going on, as much as can be said during COVID-19. And that interest is continuing to move forward and has them inquiring about potential space, potential sites, potential projects. So we're really excited with the prospects moving forward, and we'll keep the board appraised on interest as we see that come up. For future agenda items, one thing I would like the board to start considering is potential projects that we could look to get in or areas we could look to get into. That's something we've kind of tabled that discussion, haven't had that for a while. But we started addressing the roles of what the RDA could do in relation to housing. There are a couple of projects that we will be bringing forward to the board for potential redevelopment in adjacent areas to the Canterbury District. So we'll probably see that coming up on a future agenda, maybe not next month's agenda, but sometime in the near future. We'll be seeing some additional areas that we'll be presenting to the board for potential redevelopment as well. So just like the board to keep that in mind and think about what are the areas this organization could potentially look at in terms of helping promote growth within the community. And that's all I had.
Well, that's all good stuff, so thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Looking forward to getting going on some of that stuff. Okay, I guess the last item then is announcements. If announcements or, of course, Mike would always talk about fan mail, so.
Nothing from us.
No fan, okay, all right. All right, very good. I think we're all set then. I'd look for a motion to adjourn. Okay, I'm not seeing anything, but I'm assuming that nobody wants to stay around here for another hour, so.
I'll move adjournment. This is Dale.
Thanks, Dale.
Second from Wayne.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. Okay, all in favor of adjournment or adjourning?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
the ayes have it. All right, it's 8:13, and we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Sorry for the technical difficulties early on, and we'll see you next time.
This program was brought to you by a cooperation between Newsworks and the City of Eau Claire. A transcript of this meeting is available for the hearing impaired. It will be available within 7 days of this telecast. Call 715-839-4912 or TDD 715-839-1689. Or write Eau Claire City Clerk, P.O. Box 5148, Eau Claire, Wisconsin 54702-5148. Newsworks is made possible by continuing community support. If you would like to volunteer or make a donation, please contact us via phone at 715